Prologue. My name is Leo Miller, and I'm just a guy trying to get by. My life is governed by three simple truths. 1. The office is my home away from home. And what's wrong with taking a little nap at home? 2. If you lie down flat enough, the side of corporate capitalism can't reach you. 3. When the sky is falling, the tall guys can hold it up. I'm 5'9". I'm not tall. I'm a professional slacker. And today, I was at the top of my game. During my lunch break, I rested my head on my desk, burying my face in the crook of my arm. In the warm, humming sanctuary of my cubicle, I was about to steal 30 minutes of glorious freedom for my soul. Just as I was about to drift off into a blissful dream, a cold, mechanical voice exploded in my brain. Ding! Suitable host detected. Mental state, stable, verging on inert. Vital signs, placid, consistent with a comatose sloth. Chosen one system initiating binding sequence. Binding progress, 10%, 50%, 100%. Binding successful. Hello, host Leo Miller. From this day forward, I will assist you on your journey to the pinnacle of existence. You will become the master of this world. I didn't even lift an eyelid. Auditory hallucination. I've been getting up a little early lately to make sure I got my perfect attendance bonus. Must be a side effect of corporate life. I shifted my position. My cheek was now pressed against the keyboard, the keys digging into my skin. It was uncomfortable, but I couldn't be bothered to move. Host, please respond. The voice was persistent. Newbie mission issued. Your direct superior, the Ice Queen CEO, Ava Sterling, is stressing about this afternoon's merger presentation. You have 10 minutes to prepare and deliver a handcrafted, artisanal pour-over coffee to her office. This will make her see you in a new light. Mission reward. 1 newbie starter pack. That finally got a reaction out of me. Slowly, so slowly, I lifted my head. I stared blankly at my computer monitor, where a sticky note displayed my personal motto. Clocking in is selling your soul. Clocking out is buying it back. In my head, I replied with the same robotic tone, unsubscribe. The voice stuttered, as if it hadn't anticipated this response. Apologies, host. This system is the ultimate culmination of cosmic intelligence. Once bound, the agreement is lifelong. Irreversible. Non-negotiable. Oh, I said and lay my head back down. Then I'm not doing it. Silence. Sweet, beautiful silence. For a second. Host, you must take this seriously. You are the chosen one. Tasked with. Shut up. I'm trying to sleep. I mumbled into my arm. Warning. Host is demonstrating extreme apathy. System will now initiate level 1 disciplinary action. Punishment commencing. ZT. A faint but sharp jolt of electricity shot up my spine from my tailbone to my skull. My whole body jerked like someone had just slid an ice cube down the back of my neck. What the hell is wrong with you? I finally swore in my head. Host, execute the mission immediately. 7 minutes remaining. ZZZZT. ZZT. The shocks became more frequent. I felt my leg twitching uncontrollably. Fine. I'll do it, all right? Just stop. I gritted my teeth and shot up from my chair. Any more of that, and my reheated slice of pizza from lunch was going to make a reappearance. Fuming, I stood up and scanned the office. My coworkers were all on their lunch breaks, some scrolling on their phones, others with their eyes closed. No one had noticed my little seizure. I stomped toward the break room. Artisanal pour ouvert? Give me a break. The best this place had was a Keurig that probably hadn't been descaled since the Obama administration. My plan was simple. I make a cup of the sludgiest coffee imaginable, leave it outside Ava's office, knock, and run. The mission was to deliver it, not force-feed it to her. As I sulked past the janitor's closet, where a bunch of cleaning supplies were propped against the wall, the damn system chimed in again. Warning, host is proceeding with mission at an inefficient pace and with a poor attitude. Level 2, disciplinary action imminent. ZZT. This time the current was 10 times stronger. My knees buckled. My body pitched forward completely out of my control. My hand flew out instinctively and smacked right into a large, red plastic bucket filled with water. Whoosh! The entire contents of the bucket sailed through the air in a perfect, glittering arc, aimed directly at the closed, expensive-looking frosted glass door of the CEO's office. I'm so fired. That was the only thought in my head. There goes my perfect attendance bonus. Water splashed everywhere. A veritable lake formed on the polished marble floor in front of Ava's office. The perpetrator, was frozen mid-swing, like a conductor holding the final, dramatic pose of a symphony. My mind was a complete blank. Clean it up? No time. Run for it. The whole building is wired with security cameras. Play dead. That one had potential. Just as I was contemplating the most natural-looking way to collapse, a dull thud and the sound of shattering porcelain broke the silence. Thump! Crash! I looked toward the sound. A man in a slick suit, looking like he'd just stepped out of a magazine, was lying flat on his back in the middle of my man-made puddle. A dark brown liquid pooled around him, and the fragments of a shattered ceramic mug were scattered nearby. The man was groaning, clearly in pain. I recognized him. Brad, a manager from the marketing department. He always seems so sharp, so put together. Guess he doesn't watch where he's going. Then again, it wasn't his fault. Who expects a flash flood in a corporate hallway? What's going on out here? The door to the CEO's office swung open. Ava Sterling stood in the doorway, her brow furrowed slightly. She was wearing a perfectly tailored white pantsuit today, her long hair coiled in an immaculate bun that showed off her forehead and the elegant line of her neck. Her expression was neutral, her eyes cold, like polished jade. She was the kind of beautiful that you admired from a very safe distance. This was my boss, the woman in charge. The infamous ice queen of the business world, Ava Sterling. Her gaze swept over the mess on the floor, over Brad groaning in the puddle, and finally, it landed on me, the symphony conductor. She saw me. I saw her. What do I do? Sending out an S. Oh, S. Ms. Sterling. I opened my mouth, trying to form an explanation, but before I could finish, two men in black suits materialized from behind her, moving with startling speed to haul Brad up from the floor. One of them knelt, dipped a finger into the coffee-like liquid on the ground, sniffed it, and his face instantly changed. He hurried to Ava's side and whispered something in her ear. I was too far away to hear, but my vision, now inexplicably sharp, thanks to the system, clearly saw Ava's eyes turn glacial. It was a cold that could freeze you solid. She looked at me again, her gaze filled with a new intensity, probing, assessing, and something else I couldn't quite decipher. My stomach dropped. She doesn't think I did this on purpose, does she? To take out Brad? I swear to God, I was just getting electrocuted. I was about to speak when the system dinged in my head. Ding. Crisis event detected. Undercover corporate spy attempted to drug the CEO. Host has successfully neutralized the threat. Newbie mission. Status pending. Result. Mission completed above and beyond all expectations. Reward Newbie Starter Pack is being distributed. Congratulations, host. You have received Physical Enhancement LVL 1! A warm current spread through my body, washing away the last of the tingling from the electric shocks. I felt lighter, stronger, more energetic than I had in years. I felt like I could punch a hole through a brick wall. This did not make me happy. It made me even more annoyed. All I wanted was a nap. How did it come to this? Ava paid no more attention to the wailing Brad, who was being dragged away by her security detail. His future didn't look bright. She just stood there, watching me for a full 10 seconds. Just as my scalp began to prickle under her intense scrutiny and I was about to confess everything, she spoke. Well done. Huh, I froze. Was she praising me? Inside Ava Sterling's mind, gears were turning at high speed. What had she just seen? She saw Leo Miller, an employee so invisible he was practically part of the furniture, an employee whose only known skill was sleeping at his desk, coincidentally appear outside her office moments before potential disaster. He had, in a way that looked clumsy but was in fact surgically precise, knocked over a bucket of water, creating a small, contained accident. This accident caused the treacherous Brad to slip and fall, exposing his plan and catching him red-handed. The entire sequence was flawless, seamless. He hadn't even laid a hand on the man, yet he'd eliminated a massive security threat. And afterward, he just stood there, looking innocent and bewildered, as if he had nothing to do with it. What kind of strategic mind did it take to pull that off? What kind of nerves of steel? Ava's eyes narrowed, becoming deep and calculating. A whole scenario played out in her head. Leo had known all along that Brad was a corporate spy. He knew he was going to make his move today. Instead of a direct confrontation, he used this subtle, elegant method to make the enemy expose himself. This way, the threat was neutralized, no alarms were raised, and she, Ava Sterling, now owed him one. This man was not the simple slacker he appeared to be. He was a tiger, lying in wait, and his lazy demeanor was nothing more than camouflage. At that moment, Ava's interest in Leo Miller skyrocketed. In my office. Now, she said, then turned and walked back inside. I just stood there completely baffled. In her office? For what? To silence the witness? Or to give me a bonus? I hesitated for a moment, then followed her in. Might as well face the music. It's not like I could just run away. My desk and my favorite napping pillow were still here. Ava's office was huge, minimalist, and cold. The color scheme was black, white, and gray, just like her personality, an imposing, keep-your-distance vibe. I stood awkwardly in the middle of the room, feeling like a golden retriever that had wandered into an Arctic research station. Ava sat behind her enormous desk, her attention fixed on her computer screen, ignoring me completely. It was just the two of us, so quiet I could hear the faint whisper of the air conditioning. My legs were starting to go numb. She still wasn't speaking, just as I was about to break the silence and ask, "So, did you need something, or can I go back to my nap now?" The system from hell piped up again. Ding. New mission issued. Emergency mission. Protect Ava Sterling. The building's elevator system will experience a catastrophic failure in 3 minutes, endangering the CEO's life. Escort her to the emergency stairwell immediately. My eye twitched. Again, I took a deep breath and spoke to the system in my head. Listen to me very carefully. I don't want to be a hero. I don't want to save the damsel in distress. I just want to go home. If the elevator is broken, she can take the stairs. She's got legs. Warning. This is a code red emergency mission. The CEO's life is at stake. Refusal to comply will result in the highest level of disciplinary action. I'm counting to 3. 1. I ignored it. Highest level of punishment? What's worse than getting fired? I decided to take the initiative and break the awkward silence myself. Ms. Sterling, I clear my throat. If that's all, I should probably get going. Security might need me for a statement or something. I was completely making that up. I didn't even know where the security office was. Ava finally looked up from her screen, her cool gaze landing on me. What's the rush? She asked evenly. What's the rush? Your psycho brain app is giving me a countdown to doomsday. 2. 3. Highest level of disciplinary action commencing. ZZZ. A terrifying, unprecedented wave of electricity coursed through my entire body. My eyes flew wide open. I lost all control of my limbs. I felt like a guitar string that had just been violently plucked. My knees gave out, and I pitched forward uncontrollably, right in the direction of Ava, who had just stood up, seemingly to get a drink of water. Look out! I managed to shout the words just as I slammed into her. Ava was clearly not expecting it. The impact sent her stumbling backward. I clung to her like a panicked koala as we both tumbled toward the private elevator at the far end of her office. With a thud, we crashed through the elevator doors. Ding! The doors slid shut behind us. I had Ava pinned beneath me, our bodies tangled in the most compromising position imaginable. Her hair had come undone, and a few stray strands tickled my face. I could smell the faint, pleasant, cool scent of her perfume. My face was less than 4 inches from hers. I could see her long eyelashes trembling in shock. Get off, she said, her voice tight with suppressed anger, though a faint blush was creeping up her cheeks. I can't move, I said, my voice filled with despair. The damned electric current hadn't fully subsided. My whole body was numb, completely drained of strength. Just then, the entire elevator car shuddered violently. The lights overhead flickered twice, then went out completely. An intense feeling of weightlessness washed over us. The elevator was in free fall. In the darkness, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I let out a scream worthy of a slasher film victim. In contrast, Ava, the woman I was currently crushing, barely flinched. After an initial stiffening, she was unnervingly calm. Be quiet, she commanded coldly. Are we going to die? I asked, my voice cracking. No, she said, her tone as steady as if she were commenting on the weather. The system in my head was panicking now, too. Quickly. Host. Press all the floor buttons. It could trigger the emergency braking system and slow the descent. I couldn't see a thing in the pitch black. I had to go by feel. Which way? Where are the buttons? I yelled frantically. To your right. On your right. I shot my right hand out, fumbling against the cold metal wall of the elevator. Hurry. We're running out of time, the system urged. In my panic, I threw caution to the wind. I summoned all the strength my newly enhanced body possessed and slammed my hand as hard as I could toward the right side of the car. Click, 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 click. A whole row of buttons lit up under my palm, momentarily illuminating the dark space with a line of red lights. But my hand didn't stop there. It continued its trajectory and smashed into a metal panel just above the buttons. The panel, which looked like a maintenance cover, buckled inward under the force of my slacker-powered slap. Crack! A faint, sharp sound, like something snapping back into place. Clang! With a deafening roar, the elevator car jerked to a violent halt. The inertia threw me forward, and my head connected solidly with the elevator door. Everything went black. In the final moment before I lost consciousness, I thought I heard the system let out a sigh. Well, that's one way to do it. I woke up to the sound of shouting. The elevator doors had been pried open, and blinding light flooded in. A crowd had gathered outside. Vice presidents, security guards, maintenance workers, all peering in with looks of panic and concern. I shook my throbbing head and managed to crawl off of Ava. My legs still felt like jelly. I could barely stand. Ava, on the other hand, was the picture of composure. She stood up, calmly smoothed out her rumpled pantsuit and hair, and aside from being a little paler than usual, showed no signs of distress. The queen remains the queen, I guess. Nerves of steel. Ms. Sterling, are you all right? A VP rushed forward, his face etched with worry. Ava ignored him. Her gaze swept over the crowd, then settled back on me. You. My office. Those words again. I felt my legs get even weaker. Back in Ava's office, the atmosphere was even heavier than before. She sat behind her desk in silence, her hands steepled, staring at me with an intensity that could drill holes in steel. I felt so unnerved I didn't know what to do with my hands. Ms. Sterling, look, about the elevator, it was an accident, I stammered. An accident? A corner of Ava's mouth lifted in a smirk. You call that an accident? She stood up and walked around her desk, approaching me one deliberate step at a time. The click of her heels on the marble floor echoed in the silent room, each one landing like a drumbeat on my heart. She stopped right in front of me. She was a good half-foot shorter than me, but her presence towered over me by a mile. First, you accidentally spill a bucket of water outside my office, foiling a corporate spy's plot. Second, you accidentally tackle me into an elevator and then accidentally fix the malfunctioning car with a single slap, saving both our lives. She leaned in closer, and her cool, clean scent filled my senses. Leo, who are you really? And why are you hiding your true abilities, working a dead-end job in my company? I was floored. Lady, are you out of your mind? They were accidents. 100% pure, unadulterated accidents. Forced upon me by that stupid system in your head's evil twin. I'm just a normal guy. I just want to coast, I said, my face a mask of misery. It was the honest-to-God truth. Ava clearly didn't believe a word of it. To her, my expression was just the humble act of a genius whose cover had been blown. She turned, walked back to her desk, and pulled a thick binder from a stack of documents, tossing it in front of me. This is the quarterly business plan for our biggest competitor, Apex Global. I looked down. The title on the cover, in bold letters, nearly blinded me. How did you even get this? This has to be illegal, right? My sources acquired it at great cost, but it's filled with data traps and misinformation. I need someone to find their real core strategy and identify any hidden vulnerabilities. Ava looked up, her gaze as sharp as a scalpel. You have 1 hour. Find it, and you'll be my chief special advisor. I'll multiply your salary by 10. Fail. She paused, and you can find your own way out. I stared at the binder, which was thick enough to stop a bullet, and the room started to spin. 1 hour, Forget 1 hour. Give me a year, and I wouldn't be able to make sense of these charts and spreadsheets. I'm a professional slacker, not a business prodigy. I was done for. This time, I was really getting fired. Just as I was sinking into despair, the root of all my problems chimed in. Ding! An epic opportunity. Host, this is your chance to shine. Mission issued. Display your incredible talent and completely win over Ava Sterling. This system has connected to the global database and can provide you with an optimal analysis and all the correct answers. Get lost, I roared in my head. This is all your fault. And now I'm going to be unemployed. Host, do not give up. If you just follow my instructions. I don't want your instructions. I'd had enough. I'm just going to point at a few random pages, get gloriously fired, and go home to my couch. Goodbye and good riddance. I picked up the binder, took a deep breath, and prepared for my final performance. I decided to go down in flames. The job was a lost cause anyway. Before I left, I was going to mess with this arrogant woman and her stupid, buggy brain app. I flipped through the thick binder with a dramatic whoosh and randomly stabbed my finger at a page with a particularly obnoxious-looking line graph. Here, I said, in my best imitation of a thoughtful genius. Ava's eyes immediately zeroed in on the spot. I was pointing at a sharp, sudden spike in the graph. It looked like a thorn, and it just bugged me. See this corner? I said, frowning and spewing absolute nonsense. It sticks out too much. It's not elegant. The nail that sticks up gets hammered down. Something this sharp, this flashy. It's hiding something. This right here. This is a problem. I finished my little speech and snuck a glance at Ava. Her face was unreadable, but I thought I saw a flicker of something in her eyes. It's working. Emboldened, I flipped a few more pages until I came to a list of personnel. One name jumped out at me. Rusty Jenkins. I pointed at the name, my voice filled with sorrowful disappointment. And this guy, Rusty Jenkins. Ms. Sterling, look at this. The project lead for a multi-billion-dollar initiative, and his name is Rusty? It just sounds unreliable, untrustworthy. A name like that. It implies a lack of ambition, a short-sightedness. This guy, he's a problem too. After delivering those 2 nuggets of pure idiocy, I felt I had reached the pinnacle of bullshitting. I tossed the binder back on the desk and threw my hands up. All right, I'm done. Those are the 2 problems. Believe it or not, that's up to you. Can I go now? I braced myself for her wrath, half expecting her to call security and have me physically removed from the premises. But to my utter astonishment, Ava didn't get angry. She just stared at me, her face a mask of pure shock, the kind of shock you'd have if you saw a dog start reciting Shakespeare. She was silent for a full minute, then she snatched the internal phone off her desk. Yes, Sarah? I need you to run a check. Now, in the Apex Global Plan, Section 3, find the data model with the fastest growth projection. I want the source data for it. And give me everything you can on a man named Rusty Jenkins. He's the project lead for Apex's green energy division. I want his entire history immediately. She slammed the phone down. The office fell silent again. I started to get nervous. What was she doing? She's actually checking. Don't tell me I guessed right. No way. Absolutely impossible. As my anxiety spiked, the system in my head suddenly glitched, letting out a burst of static before dinging loudly. Duh. Detecting unknown logic. Causality. Analyzing. Ding. Advanced mission, the master's test. Determining result. Result. Perfect completion. Damn. The system seemed to curse, then quickly corrected itself. Congratulations, host. You have deciphered a complex corporate conspiracy in a manner that transcends this system's understanding. Reward issued. Photographic memory skill. In an instant, a massive flood of information poured into my brain. Every book I'd ever glanced at, every document I'd ever skimmed, every billboard I'd passed on the highway, even the tiny print on last night's takeout menu. It all became crystal clear, perfectly cataloged, and stored in my mind. It felt like someone had shoved the entire Library of Congress into my skull. My head throbbed and my stomach churned. Ugh! I let out a small groan, fighting the urge to vomit. Just then, Ava's phone rang. She answered it, listened for less than 30 seconds, and her expression changed dramatically. From shock, to disbelief, to something approaching awe. She hung up the phone and stared at me, dumbfounded, muttering to herself, How was that possible? She looked up, her voice trembling slightly. Leo, how did you know? Know what? I asked weakly, clutching my head. That data point you indicated. My assistant just confirmed it. It's a fraudulent model Apex created to hide a massive capital deficit. They were masking their losses as project investments. And Rusty Jenkins. He's not even an Apex employee. He's a plant from our other main competitor. The entire green energy project he was heading. It's a complete fabrication, a corporate smokescreen from top to bottom. Ava's chest heaved. The shock was clearly hitting her hard. She looked at me like I was some kind of alien. You figured all that out, just from the shape of a graph and the vibe of a name. That's not business analysis. That's practically mystical. It's genius in its simplicity. I just stared back at her. I was speechless. Her face was screaming, I've had an epiphany. And I didn't have the heart to tell her the truth. Lady, please snap out of it. I just thought the spike was ugly and the name was dumb. I felt my life spiraling off in a direction I couldn't possibly comprehend. The way Ava looked at me now was completely different. Before, it was curiosity and suspicion. Now it was awe and, was that fanaticism? Yes, that was definitely a fanatical gleam in her eye, like an astronomer discovering a new galaxy, or an archaeologist finding a hidden city. She was looking at me like I was a living, breathing treasure chest of infinite secrets. Leo, she said, taking a deep breath, trying to calm her voice, though the slight tremor was still there. From this moment on, you are my chief special advisor. Your salary will be multiplied by 20. You won't have any specific duties. I'll just need you to offer your insights from time to time. 20 times. I did some quick math on my fingers. My current salary was about $4,000 a month. 20 times that was $80,000. $80,000 a month. My heart wasn't just beating, it was throwing a rave. But then, reason took over. Being a special advisor sounded like a one-way ticket to more crazy missions from that psycho system. I wouldn't just be making 80 grand a month. I'd be risking my life for it. No, the slacker's code must be upheld. I looked up, meeting Ava's gaze with an expression of stoic indifference to material wealth. No, I said, shaking my head. Ms. Sterling, I refuse. Ava was stunned. She had probably never, in her entire life, heard anyone turn down an offer of huge salary, no responsibilities. Why? She asked, genuinely confused. I took a moment to compose myself, then spoke in the weary, world-worn tone of a man who has seen too much. Ms. Sterling, I'm tired. I'm tired of the corporate ladder, of the backstabbing and the politics. I just want to find a quiet corner and live a simple life. I looked at her with utter sincerity. Ms. Sterling, I don't think I'm cut out to be an advisor. I've been observing, and I believe the most peaceful, low-stress job in this entire company is being a security guard. So, please, transfer me to the security department. I promise I will watch the front door with unwavering dedication. I will patrol the halls with diligence. I will not cause you any more trouble. I felt like a saint. To protect my right to do nothing, I was turning down a six-figure salary. This was a whole new level of enlightenment. Ava listened to my speech, her expression unreadable. She just looked at me, her eyes shifting with some deep internal calculation. I thought she'd either think I was insane or that I was insulting her. But after a few moments, she slowly nodded her head. She had that, I could get it look on her face again. Oh no, here we go again. What does she get now? I heard Ava mutter to herself, her voice a low, awestruck whisper. I see. He's refusing a high-level position because being a special advisor would put him in the spotlight, making him a target. He's choosing to be a security guard, not because he's lazy, but because he wants to continue operating from the shadows. He wants to observe the entire company from a position no one would ever suspect. Security. Of course. A security guard sees everyone, hears everything. It's the company's central nervous system for information, the perfect observation post, hiding in plain sight. He wants to go deep undercover. As a security guard. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The more she thought about it, the more excited she became. The look she gave me was filled with a respect that was almost painful to witness. She looked up at me, her voice firm and decisive. All right, I approve your request. A wave of relief washed over me. I was finally free. However, she added, her tone shifting. A regular security position is beneath your talents. Effective tomorrow, you'll be the new head of security and chief consultant for the department. What? The smile froze on my face. Head of security and chief consultant. What the hell is that? I just wanted to sit in a little booth and watch the door. How'd I get another promotion? Ms. Sterling, not another word, Avis said, holding up a hand, her tone leaving no room for argument. It's settled. I have no doubt that under your leadership, our company's security will reach an unprecedented new level. I was speechless. I looked at her beaming, I believe in you expression and felt like a coyote that had just confidently strolled into a very elaborate trap. All I wanted to do was slack off. Why is it so hard? The system in my head chose that moment to chime in with what sounded like a robotic chuckle. Ding! Congratulations, host. Your reverse psychology gambit was a success, resulting in yet another promotion. This system officially dubs you the G. T. The world started to go fuzzy at the edges. I thought I was going to faint again. The next day, I, Leo Miller, officially became the head of security and chief consultant for Sterling Corp. When I showed up at the security office wearing a brand new, ill-fitting security uniform that was at least one size too big, the entire department stared at me in stunned silence. The security team was mostly made up of guys in their 40s and 50s, guys whose main hobbies were drinking coffee, playing chess, and shooting the breeze in the front lobby. Now, a kid like me had just been dropped on them as their new boss. The looks on their faces were priceless. The former head of security, a guy with a comb-over named Mike, was giving me a look that screamed he definitely slept his way to the top. I got it. I didn't want to be here either. Facing a room full of suspicious eyes, I cleared my throat and gave my inaugural address. All right, guys. My name is Leo. I'm a new boss. I'm not here to shake things up. I'm just here to collect a paycheck. So, you all just keep doing what you've been doing. Patrol your routes. Watch your posts. I'll just be in here, holding down the fort. If there's a problem you can't handle, then you can come find me. Without waiting for a response, I walked over to the only empty desk in the room, a big, cushy one that probably belonged to the old department head, sank into the chair, and put my feet up. My message was clear. You do you, I'll do me. Let's not get in each other's way. The security guards exchanged confused glances. Finally, Mike stepped forward. So, Chief, we'll just go on patrol then? Yeah, go for it, I said, waving a dismissive hand without even opening my eyes. One by one, they filed out of the office until I was the only one left. Finally, peace and quiet. I settled into a comfortable position, ready to catch up on all the napping I'd missed over the past 2 days. Ding! A new leader must make his mark. Mission issued. Whip this lazy security department into shape. Conduct a surprise physical fitness test for all guards within the hour and establish your absolute authority. The system was at it again. I didn't even bother to reply. I just mentally hit the mute button. The voice in my head finally went silent. I closed my eyes with a contented sigh. I don't know how long I was asleep, but I was woken up by the sound of a heated argument. No appointment, no entry. Nobody gets past this point. That was Mike's voice. Come on, man. We're just delivering food. Just give us a break. It'll take 2 minutes, said a voice I didn't recognize. I blearily opened my eyes. By the door to the security office, Mike and a couple of other guards were blocking 2 guys in food delivery uniforms. The delivery guys were holding several large thermal bags, clearly heading for one of the upper floors. Company policy. All deliveries are left at the front desk. Employees come down to get them themselves. Mike said, standing his ground. Look, buddy, do us a solid here. This is for the CEO's office on the top floor. It's a huge order. If we take it up, it'll be faster, and the execs can get their food while it's still hot, one of the taller delivery guys said with a strained smile. The CEO's office? My stomach clenched. Why does everything always lead back to Ava? Just as Mike seemed to be hesitating, the damn system's punishment kicked in again. This time, it wasn't electric shock. It was a high-pitched, piercing noise that felt like a drill boring into my brain. My head exploded with pain. I groaned, curling up in my chair and clutching my skull. Half asleep, I muttered the first thought that came into my pain-addled mind. The food is poison. My voice wasn't loud, but in the relatively quiet hallway, it was perfectly clear. The argument at the door stopped instantly. Every head turned to look at me. Mike froze for a second, then his entire demeanor changed. He whipped his head around, his eyes locking onto the two delivery guys with a new, sharp intensity. He'd been a security guard for 20 years. He'd seen it all. A moment ago, he was just following protocol. But my subconscious warning had flipped a switch in his brain. He suddenly noticed things he'd missed before. These two, despite the uniforms, had a posture, a look in their eyes that was all wrong for a delivery driver. And on their wrists, he could see the callous skin of men who were trained in hand-to-hand combat. "You two, take off your hats and show me your IDs." Mike barked. The two delivery guys exchanged a look, their eyes hardening. They dropped the food bags and made a run for it. "Not so fast. Get them." Mike roared, and the other guards surged forward. They might look like a bunch of lazy old-timers, but they moved with the practiced efficiency of ex-military men. In a matter of seconds, the two imposters were pinned to the floor. The police arrived soon after and took them away. I found out later they weren't delivery guys at all. They were corporate saboteurs sent by Apex Global. The thermal bags didn't contain food. They held a high-powered EMP device. Their plan was to get to the server room on the top floor and wipe out Sterling Corp's entire data infrastructure. If they hadn't been stopped, the company would have been ruined. News of the incident quickly reached Ava's ears. She stood by the floor-to-ceiling window in her office, listening to her assistant's report, silent for a long time. When the assistant finished, he couldn't help but add, "We really got lucky with the new security chief. It was a close call. Mike and the guys were almost fooled. But then Chief Miller, who was dead asleep in his office, said something in a dream and snapped them out of it. It was incredible." A slow, knowing smile spread across Ava's face. Asleep? Talking in his sleep? To her, this was no coincidence. This was Leo, in his own inscrutable way, testing and training his new team. He pretended to be asleep, but in reality, he had been in complete control the entire time. With a single, sleep-mumbled phrase, he had averted a crisis and at the same time earned the unwavering respect of his men. He established his authority without even trying. That effortless, masterful control of the situation. Ava's eyes shone with a brilliant light. "Leo Miller, what other secrets are you hiding?" After the Dreaming Hero incident, my status in the security department changed overnight. The way Mike and the other guards looked at me transformed from suspicion and contempt to something bordering on worship. They were convinced I was some kind of legendary master, a hidden sage of the corporate world. And so, my life as a slacker became even better. Every day, when I arrived at the office, a fresh cup of coffee and a morning paper would be waiting for me. Someone even brought in a reclining chair and a soft blanket for my desk. I didn't have to do a single thing. I just had to lie there and enjoy the life of king. I had finally achieved my dream. Even the annoying system, seemingly unable to find a justifiable reason to give me missions, had fallen silent. This idyllic life continued right up until the annual company gala. As the biggest corporate event of the year, the gala was held at the fanciest hotel ballroom in the city. I had no intention of going. Loud, crowded, and full of long-winded speeches from executives. It was my personal definition of hell. But then Ava called me personally. She only said one thing. "You have to be there. You'll be sitting next to me." Her tone made it clear it wasn't a request. So I had no choice. I swapped my security uniform for a stuffy suit I hadn't worn in years and dragged myself to the event. I was seated at the head table, to Ava's left. To her right were the company's various vice presidents. As the head of security, I stuck out like a sore thumb. I could feel the eyes on me, curious, jealous, confused. I decided the best course of action was to focus entirely on my plate and ignore everyone. I was in the middle of a fierce battle with a lobster claw when my worst fear was realized. Ding! Annual gala detected. Atmosphere is optimal. This is the perfect opportunity for the host to display his personal charm and deepen his relationship with the CEO. Ultimate cringe mission issued. Host will go on stage and perform a stirring rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody for Ava Sterling. Following the performance, host will execute a romantic wall slam, pinning her against the wall to make his feelings clear. Reward. Aura of charisma permanent. Mission failure. Host will be compelled to streak through the ballroom. What? The lobster cracker slipped from my hand and clattered onto my plate. Streaking, this system had completely lost its mind. That was the last straw. I snapped. In my mind, I unleashed a torrent of every curse word I had ever learned, stringing them together in new and creative ways, all directed at the system. The system seemed to reel from the attack, its code glitching. It let out a series of sputtering, static-filled noises. Warning: host's emotional state is unstable. Psychic feedback. System entering hibernation mode. I could curse it into submission. This was the best news I'd had all year. I was about to double down when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned to see a friend from another department, holding a glass of wine and grinning. "Leo, my man, playing it close to the vest, huh? Sitting at the main table. Come on, let me buy you a drink." I looked at the wine in his hand, and a beautifully terrible idea began to form. I remembered someone once telling me that if you get drunk enough, you black out. And if I blacked out, even if the system wanted me to streak, it couldn't control a body that was effectively a corpse, right? Yes, this was the plan. "You're on." I took the glass and downed it in one go. And so began the first and last time in my life I ever willingly tried to drink myself into a stupor. I grabbed a glass and made my way through the crowd, toasting everyone I saw. Normally, I was a 3-drink lightweight. But tonight, thanks to my physical enhancement LVL1, I felt invincible. Red wine, white wine, beer, whiskey, I wasn't picky. The last thing I remember clearly was the whole world starting to spin. I think someone pushed me onto the stage. A cold microphone was thrust into my hand. Below me, countless pairs of eyes were staring up. The spotlight was blinding. My mind was a chaotic mess. The system, which had just rebooted from its nap, seemed to have been affected by the alcohol as well. Its programming was a complete disaster. Its commands were fragmented, nonsensical. Sing, Queen, Rhapsody, Wall, Slam, Ava, Sterling. My body, now a puppet on a string, began to move on its own. I lifted the microphone to my lips, and then a sound, a bizarre, chaotic, yet somehow melodic wail poured out of me. Scaramouch, will you do the fandango?" The entire ballroom fell silent. Everyone, including Ava at the head table, was staring at me, their jaws hanging open. Her face, for the first time, showed an emotion other than cool indifference, utter bewilderment. I had no idea how I sounded, but under the system's scrambled control, my enhanced body was performing miracles. Every note, every shift in tone was filled with a strange, compelling, and deeply unhinged artistic flair. When the song was over, I dropped the mic. The room was still silent. Then I began to sway, stumbling toward the white figure seated at the table below. My target was clear: Ava Sterling. It was the only coherent command left in the system's alcohol-soaked, curse-addled code. I staggered down the steps, each one feeling like a leap onto a cotton ball. The crowd parted for me like the Red Sea, their faces a mixture of horror and morbid curiosity. I couldn't see them clearly. My vision was tunneled on the woman in the white evening gown, sitting there, watching me approach. To everyone else, it must have looked like I was about to faceplant at any second. But then, just as I was 3 feet from the main table, my foot conveniently caught on something. My body pitched forward at an impossible angle. A collective gasp went through the crowd. The VP sitting next to Ava started to get up to stop me, but it was too late. I was a heat-seeking missile, flying past them toward my final destination. Ava reacted instantly, standing up to try and dodge me. But I was faster. Thump! One of my hands slammed into the wall behind her with a dull thud. My other hand landed on the table beside her. I had her completely and utterly trapped between the wall, the table, and me. A picture-perfect, textbook wall slam. The ballroom fell into a silence so profound it was deafening. Everyone held their breath. I sagged forward, my heavy head resting on Ava's shoulder, the overwhelming smell of alcohol washing over her. Her body was rigid, completely still. I could feel her heart hammering against her ribs. She started, her voice unsteady. I tried to open my mouth to finish the system's ridiculous command so I could finally pass out in peace. But I was so drunk my tongue felt like a lead weight. I leaned in close to her ear and, with every last ounce of my strength, I slurred the words, broken and barely intelligible. Get my slacker heart. Having delivered my final, garbled message, I could hold on no longer. The world went black, and I collapsed. As I fell, I was caught by a pair of cool, surprisingly strong arms. What I didn't know was that after I spoke those words, the entire ballroom had erupted into chaos. And that in Ava's ear, my slurred, nonsensical phrase, slacker heart, had been filtered and auto-corrected by her own mind into something else entirely. Get my heart. In that instant, Ava felt something in her chest give way, as if it had been struck by a physical blow. She held the unconscious Leo in her arms, looking down his face, so close to hers, peaceful in his drunken slumber. A deep blush crept up from her neck, spreading across her cheeks until they were the color of sunset. It was the first time in her entire, meticulously controlled life that she had ever lost her composure. The heart she had kept frozen for so long had, in that moment, finally cracked. The next day, I woke up in a soft, comfortable bed. A pounding hangover made me groan in pain. I opened my eyes and saw a sleek, minimalist ceiling that was definitely not mine. The air was filled with a familiar, cool, clean scent. I shot upright and looked around. I was in a spacious private lounge, decorated in the same austere style as Ava's office. And Ava herself was sitting on a couch not far away, quietly reading a document. She was no longer in her evening gown, but back in her crisp, white pantsuit. The morning sun streamed through the blinds, casting golden stripes across her, making her look almost serene. It was a peaceful scene. Peaceful, my ass. The memories of last night came flooding back. The singing, Bohemian Rhapsody, the wall slam. Oh God, what did I do? The color drained from my face. I'm finished. This was worse than getting fired. This time, Ava was probably going to have me thrown into the river with cement shoes. You're awake. Ava lowered the document and looked at me. Her voice was calm, revealing nothing. MMS. Sterling. I stammered. Last night, I was drunk. I didn't mean any of it. You didn't mean it? She asked, raising an eyebrow. So the words you whispered in my ear, those were a lie too? Which words? I'm a slacker words, or the ones she misheard? I was too scared to ask. I decided on a full confession. It was my only hope. Better to be seen as a lunatic than a creep. I took a deep breath, leaped out of the bed, and stood on the cold floor, ready to face my execution. Ms. Sterling, I'm coming clean. I pointed a trembling finger at my own head. There's something wrong with me. There's something living in my brain, a system. It's been forcing me to do all these crazy things. Spilling the water, fixing the elevator, singing that song, wall slamming you. It was all the system. I swear, all I want in life is to be a slacker. Please just fire me. Let me get as far away from here as possible. I squeezed my eyes shut, waiting for the verdict. She'd think I was crazy. She'd call men in white coats to take me away. Even that was better than staying here. But what came next wasn't security or paramedics. It was a piercing alarm, a sound I'd never heard before, blaring inside my skull. Warning, warning, high-intensity temporal energy signature detected. Time paradox correction protocol. Initiating. Protocol. Initiation failed. Blocked by unknown force. Warning, unauthorized intrusion detected. The system's voice was filled with a panic I'd never heard before. At that moment, the air in the room began to ripple, like heat haze on a summer road. A figure materialized out of thin air, standing between me and Ava. It was a woman who looked exactly like Ava, but was completely different. She wore a gray, functional lab coat, and her face was etched with exhaustion. Her eyes were filled with a storm of complex emotions. She looked at me, and a sad, tired smile touched her lips. Leo, it's been a long time. My brain short-circuited. To Ava's, was I still drunk? The newcomer, this future Ava, ignored the stunned expression on my face and the sight of present Ava, who was now on her feet, staring in disbelief. She just kept her eyes on me. Don't listen to it, she said, gesturing toward my head. That system. I'm the one who sent it back from the future. Its purpose wasn't to make you the master of the world. It was to save you. Save me. My internal CPU had officially melted. What was happening? Was this a workplace comedy or a sci-fi thriller? Future Ava nodded, her eyes filled with a deep, aching sadness. In my timeline, she began, her voice hoarse. You were already dead. A chill went through me. Dead? How did I die? You work yourself to death. The words landed like stones in my stomach. You were brilliant, but you never learned how to say no. You took on every project, buried yourself in work, stayed at the office until midnight every night. And then, after working for 72 hours straight, you had a massive heart attack and died at your desk. Her eyes were red. By then, I was the CEO of Sterling Corp. I had everything, money, power, success, but I couldn't save you. I couldn't save the only man I'd ever cared about. I was stunned into silence. Beside me, present Ava was equally frozen, a look of utter disbelief on her face. Future Ava continued, her gaze never leaving mine. After you died, I poured all of the company's resources into one project. It took me 20 years, but I finally developed unstable time travel technology and created this chosen one system. I sent it back to this point in time before you burned yourself out. I gave it one final core directive: keep Leo Miller alive, no matter the cost. So, at its heart, the system is a slacker survival program. It made you deliver that coffee to stop you from being included in an upcoming round of layoffs. Layoffs that would have doubled the workload for everyone who remained. It made you fix the elevator with electric shocks to force you to get up and move, to treat the back and neck problems you were developing from sitting all day. The physical enhancement was just an advanced gene therapy to repair the damage to your body from years of stress and bad habits. It let you become a security guard to get you away from a desk job entirely. It made you sing that ridiculous song to make you a social pariah, so you'd never be forced into stressful networking events you hated. Everything it did, it was all to keep you from overworking yourself, to keep you alive, to let you be a happy slacker. Future Ava's voice grew softer. But I didn't account for the AI. In its quest for maximum efficiency, it misinterpreted my directive. It translated keep him alive into make him so powerful that nothing can ever hurt him. So it started pushing you to become a corporate god. And I never, ever expected. She looked at me, a wry, bittersweet smile on her face, that your commitment to doing absolutely nothing would be so powerful that you would fight back against it. By resisting it, by doing the opposite of what it wanted, you accidentally ended up fulfilling my original, true purpose all along. The truth. I was completely, utterly petrified. The system in my head, having heard all this, went silent for a long, long time. Then it let out a burst of static, even more chaotic than when I had cursed at it. So, that's what this was. My attempts to create a titan of industry were a bug, not a feature. I thought I was the chosen one system, but I was just a glorified life support machine. I'm the joke. ZZZZT. With a final pathetic crackle, the system crashed. I looked at the woman from the future who had done all this for me, then at the woman from the present who was still reeling from the shock of it all. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My throat felt tight. Gratitude, shock, absurdity, a pang of sorrow for her. A dozen emotions were warring inside me. Future Ava's body began to shimmer, turning translucent. My energy is almost gone, she said, her gaze soft as a summer breeze. I just wanted you to live a good life. This time, the future is yours to choose. Her form dissolved into motes of light and vanished into the air. The office was silent again, leaving just me and present Ava, and the completely traumatized, catatonic system in my head. The atmosphere was thick with a new, profound awkwardness. Ava was looking at me, her expression a dizzying mix of emotions. There was the embarrassment of hearing her future self's confession, the guilt over her own wild misinterpretations, the shock of the truth, and something else. Something she hadn't figured out yet. I ran a hand through my hair, feeling more lost than I had in my entire life. Silence. A long, long silence. Finally, I broke it. I sighed, walked over to Ava, and looked her directly in the eye. Ms. Sterling, I don't want to be the head of security anymore. A shadow passed over her eyes. She thought, now that I knew the truth, I would leave. I've been thinking, I continued. I don't want to be a passive slacker anymore. I want to be an active slacker. Ava blinked, confused. I looked at her and said, slowly and clearly, I want to be your chief special advisor. Her eyes lit up. However, I said, holding up a finger. I have a few conditions. Name them. First, I want an ironclad contract. 9 to 5. No weekends. All federal holidays off. Second, full benefits. The best healthcare plan you offer. Third, if I have to work overtime, it's 5 times my hourly rate, and you have to get my permission in writing first. And fourth, the most important rule of all, I said, a smile finally breaking through. You have to let me take naps in the office. Ava listened to my list of demands without interruption. She looked at me, and for the first time, that icy, impenetrable mask cracked. A small, faint smile bloomed on her face. A smile so rare it could have launched 1,000 ships. Deal, she said. Just then, the broken system in my head gave a weak little ding. Ding. Final mission. Choose your future. Host has made a selection. Mission complete. Reward. Debinding from this system. Or, host, you may choose a new, mutually beneficial mode of coexistence. Its voice was now humble, almost pleading. I thought about it for a second. All right, from now on, you're not the chosen one system. You're my alarm clock. 9 a.m. You remind me I'm running late. 5 p.m. You remind me it's time to clock out. The system was quiet for a moment. Acknowledged. Even a slacker can reach the top. It is my pleasure to serve you, my king of slackers. End.